inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we put the finishing touches on a very busy week for us here at 1010XL. Obviously, that revolves around mostly the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 2 of this coaching search about to be in the rearview mirror. I believe this is day number 11 of the coaching search. The Jaguars finished their 8th interview a couple of hours ago. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator of Minnesota, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, was interview number 8. I think Kellen Moore and Joe Brady are the last two that have not been interviewed. I believe both are scheduled to be interviewed at some point this weekend. And at that point, the Jaguars would have talked to all 10 guys that were on their initial list of who they've wanted to interview, which is pretty impressive. To conduct 10 interviews in basically 12 days will be what they have done. And then I would imagine early next week, probably, depending on how transparent they are, which they've been very transparent to this point, we will probably find out either finalists, or maybe they'll call it second round of interviews, but it's normally the finalist. And as we've talked about, how many of the 10 will be brought back for second interviews in person? Almost all of these have been virtual to this point. Again, if I were a betting man, I'd say 3 or 4. I don't think many more than that. I think probably Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Liam Cohen. And then if I had to guess, the fourth one would either be probably Robert Saleh or Brian Flores, depending on how the Joe Brady and Kellen Moore interviews go this weekend. Kellen Moore appears to be very much in play with the Dallas Cowboys as well. Interesting time for a lot of these candidates that are interviewing in all these different jobs that have a playoff game to win, either tomorrow or Sunday. And we'll get into that aspect of it in just one moment. But we have a busy show tonight, as you would imagine this time of year. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. He's covered the NFL for many, many years. Ryan's going to join us not only to talk about the Jaguar coaching search, some of these young offensive minds the Jaguars are interviewing, but the Jaguar coach that comes in here has a lot to work with. The young talent, right? From Brian Thomas Jr. to Tank Bigsby, Anton Harrison, Walker Little, Brenton Strange, Parker Washington. We'll talk about some of the young nucleus, the young foundation with the Jaguars. That comes up in about 15 minutes or so. Towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour, we will crunch the numbers. Daniel Griffith's Wildcard Analytics. I know many of you follow him on social media. Daniel is a numbers guy, man. There is no doubt about that. It is all about the numbers, the decimal points, the analytics when it comes to Daniel Griffith, and he joins us to talk about that aspect of the Jaguar coaching search. That comes up again towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour. But as always, we're glad you're with us here on a Friday. It is Hacker After Dark, and every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
A couple big deals of the night. I actually want to get into some of these playoff games this weekend, and we'll do that in just a moment. You know, Trent Baalke has been absolutely obliterated, crushed, and destroyed by you, the Jaguar fans, for really many years, but primarily for the last 2 or 3 months. I mean, just an annihilation of Trent Baalke. As I said last night, you could make the legit argument that Trent Baalke, in the Jaguar fans' eyes, is the biggest villain in franchise history. So I don't know if this will change his standing. Now, Shad Khan, I think a lot of the venom from Jaguar fans has begun going towards the owner. As we talk about, they've lost 70% of the games in the regular season that they've played since Shad bought the team prior to 2012. 64 wins, 148 losses. That's horrific, obviously. But Shad never really got a lot of the venom from fans until recently, and primarily until the last 11 days. When he fired Doug Peterson, but for whatever reason, and I guess Shad's the only one that knows, and by the way, he's the only one that matters, if you want to be frank about it. But the only one that knows why he decided to keep Trent Baalke. No one else really understands it, either locally, regionally, or nationally. But it really doesn't matter, because the owner makes the decision, and the owner decided to keep Trent Baalke. And obviously that got the ire of a lot of Jaguar fans. So from that standpoint, both Shad Khan and Trent Baalke have been very unpopular figures here for the last 2 weeks. What happens in a hypothetical world? And again, the unpopularity of Khan and Baalke has been very prevalent in this city since the firing of Doug Peterson. But what happens in a hypothetical world if the Jaguars land Ben Johnson? If Ben Johnson signs on the dotted line with the Jacksonville Jaguars to be their next head coach. It's the guy you want, right? An overwhelming majority of you, the Jaguar fans, you want Ben Johnson. That is your goal. You want him to be the next head coach. What if he is the next head coach? What if Shad Khan, and maybe to a lesser extent Baalke, but primarily Shad, what if that gets the deal done? What if he gets Ben Johnson to Jacksonville? Is all forgotten? Is all forgiven? Would your opinion change of either Baalke or Khan? Would it stay the same? Say it's too little, too late? If Ben Johnson comes here to Jacksonville, the euphoria in this city will be palpable. You will be fired up, and you know you will be. And you won't care about Trent Baalke, at least for the foreseeable future, if Ben Johnson is the brand new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if they get into the season and they start winning with Ben Johnson, you won't give Trent Baalke being here a second thought. If they don't get Ben Johnson, well, then you're going to continue to be PO'd. You're going to continue to be ticked no matter who they bring in here. You'll try to put a happy face on Aaron Glenn or Liam Cohen or Joe Brady or Robert Saleh. But honestly, most of you want Ben Johnson. And if Ben Johnson doesn't come here, the animosity you have towards the owner and the general manager will be amped up that much more. But again, what if Ben Johnson does come here? How would your opinion of Shad Khan and maybe to a lesser extent Trent Baalke, how would that change things? I think it would change things drastically in your eyes. I think if Shad lands Ben Johnson, all the negativity towards the owner since he didn't fire Baalke 11 days ago, some of that, maybe even most of that, would probably go away, at least for the time being. Now, I don't care who they bring in here. They could bring in Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, or Dylan Denmark. If they go 6-2 in their first 8 games in 2025, you're going to be fired up. You're going to be pumped. And again, you're not going to care about Trent Baalke. Winning cures all. But on the flip side of that, whether it's Ben Johnson or whomever, if they go 2-6 in the first 8, well, then not only will you be mad at the owner and the GM, you'll be mad at Ben Johnson at that point. Winning, winning, winning. It's all that matters, man. That is all that matters. Regardless of who the GM is, really regardless of who the head coach is. Did you have a problem with Doug Marrone when they won the AFC South in 2017? Did you have issues with Doug Marrone when they were in the AFC Championship game? Of course you didn't. So many anti-Doug Peterson people this year. Yeah, how anti-Doug Peterson were you in 2022? When, by the way, they only went 9-8. It's not as if they were 14-3. They went 9-8. But they won the division, and they won a playoff game. And Doug Peterson couldn't do any wrong. It's funny how that happens, doesn't it? I'll give you another funny one real quick. The Tennessee Titans today hired a new GM. Is it Mike Borgazzi from Kansas City? I got a lot of Titans friends in the media in Nashville. I follow a lot of them. Oh, they were raining down the confetti today. Mike Borgazzi's coming. What a great hire. Home run hire. Terrific job by the organization. These same people said the same exact thing 2 years ago when they hired Rand Carthon. It's just funny how that happens, right? We're in the off-season of hope. Ben Johnson would provide you hope for February, March, April, May, June, July, and August. But if Ben Johnson comes here and gets to September and the Jaguars start 0-4, guess what? You're going to be pissed. Where the ironic part is, Liam Cohen or Aaron Glenn or Robert Saleh or Joe Brady, you might be mad now. But if September rolls around and the Jaguars are 3-1, you won't be very mad then, will you? All comes down to on the field. But the one difference with Ben Johnson is that's the guy you want. That's the guy you covet. Most of you. And if Shad Khan, and again, probably to a lesser extent, Trent Baalke, but primarily Shad, if they deliver Ben Johnson to you, would that change your opinion on them? The negative opinion you've had for the last 2 weeks. Hit me up on the text line. Let me know. 641-1010. Text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I did put that on social media. You can follow me on Twitter /X, Ryan Green 1010XL. Yes, there is a world where my name is Ryan Green, not Hacker. So at Ryan Green 1010XL, just under 400 people have voted. I said if, and I put like 7 exclamation points after that. If the Jaguars land Ben Johnson, would that change your opinion of owner Shad Khan and general manager Trent Baalke? Of the 400 people that have voted, 21% say yes, 32% say no, but 47% say not entirely, but it helps. And that's probably where I would tend to side too. You might not entirely get over your animosity right now towards the owner and the GM, but if they land Ben Johnson, I bet that would help you. I bet that would help your opinion. I want to get into the playoff games. Ben Johnson's going to be part of one of those playoff games tomorrow night when Washington takes on Detroit. In fact, every divisional game this weekend, every one of them, has at least one coordinator that the Jaguars are going to interview for their head coaching job. Every game has at least one. Some have numerous. So when you're watching these games this week, keep that in the back of your mind. All 4 of them, all 4 games have at least one coordinator that the Jaguars would have spoken to about their head coaching opening. Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. We'll talk Jaguar coaching search. We'll talk Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke's draft history, and we'll talk about the young nucleus here in Jacksonville. Whoever the next head coach is, how good is the nucleus they're inheriting? And, yes, we will, a little bit, just a little bit of 2025 draft talk. Ryan Fowler, the Draft Network, joins me next. Hacker After Dark on a Friday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
It begins with a dream.
Cinderella story, a former greenskeeper now about to become the Masters champion. It looks like I'm a wreck. It's in the hole!
1010XL.
It's in the hole!
92.5 FM.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. It's a brand new year, right? We're actually, 2.5 weeks into the new year. How's your New Year's resolution going? Did you want to drop some weight? Are you trying something that's not Awaken 180? How's that working out for you? I'll tell you, it never worked out well for me. I tried so many weight loss programs, so many things. Didn't lose the weight, or maybe lost a little bit, but gained it all right back, right? And then I heard about Awaken 180. I said, what the heck? It's worth a shot. Over 110 pounds later, from 317 to 205. Life-changing, man. Best weight loss program I've ever been on. And if I can do it, you can do it. Go to awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com. That company can literally change your life. I know this because they've done it for me. They can do it for you as well. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller. Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, this is Bert Cannon with the First Coast YMCA. Youth sports at the Y can help nurture your future athlete's potential and experience the joy of being a kid. At the Y, we're providing a safe, clean, and fun environment with basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, elite skills training, and more. Best of all, participation in Legacy Youth Sports League is free with your family membership. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
I'm Max Fink on your Gator station. 1010XL is your pipeline to Gator Nation. Listen to the Gator Report all year round.
Freshened up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators. 1010XL.
Go Gators! This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court: the Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguar head coaching search continues, week number 2. The Jaguars have already interviewed about 5 guys, either virtually or in person. Those interviews will continue, as this process will probably continue for at least the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about whoever the head coach is that comes here to Jacksonville. He's got a lot of talent to work with, including one of the best rookie receivers the NFL has seen in quite some time in Brian Thomas Jr. My buddy Ryan Fowler does a terrific job for the Draft Network covering the NFL and the NFL Draft, and Ryan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ryan. I always appreciate you having me on, man.
Hey, Ryan, thank you as always. All right, your reaction early last week when you saw Doug Peterson being fired, Trent Baalke being retained as Jaguar general manager.
Yeah, definitely surprising for sure. Usually when you have a figurehead, kind of like Doug Peterson, as far as a guy that walked into the building with a Super Bowl ring on, and obviously the expectation in Jacksonville was for him to bring that to town, of course, with Trevor Lawrence, and of course, looking back to the relationship that Doug, had with Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. That was the expectation. And obviously that didn't work out that way. But with Trent being able to hang around to where, the head coaching search before Doug Peterson and then now where it is, I think they're doing a fine job so far, Ryan. But, looking at this thing from a 10,000-foot view, getting the correct guy in the building, I think right now there's going to be a lot of attention, of course, surrounding Ben Johnson. Of course, from Detroit, the historic offense that they put on the field this year, and to come and potentially do that in Jacksonville, where headliners and Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. But for me, and we've talked about this before, you got to find an individual, I don't care if it's offensive-minded, defensive-minded, former coordinator, whatever, that can be a leader of men and that is a voice that does not fall mute in a locker room, good or bad. Because these last few years, when you look at the Jaguars, as far as a team that was expected to be right atop the NFC South, consistently in the AFC playoff picture since drafting Trevor Lawrence, which they've been in the prior few years, they got to get a guy in the building that can battle through some adversity a little bit and lead this roster. Because as you said at the top, this roster absolutely has talent. And in the AFC South, where it was a down year, respectively, to the Houston Texans, you don't know what's going on with the Indianapolis Colts, and the Titans have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They really have zero path right now themselves. So it's finding the correct, not only offensive or defensive mind to get this thing as far as back on the rails, but also finding an individual that can be a leader of men, which I think goes extremely underrated in the head coaching process.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network, and you're exactly right, and that's been my point here for the last couple of days, is that whether it's an offensive guy, whether it's a defensive guy, get me the right guy. And a prime example of that is the 8 teams left in the divisional round of the playoffs this weekend. You got 3 what I would call offensive guys, right? Sirianni, McVay, and obviously Andy Reid. Dan Campbell, yes, a former tight ends coach, but I'm not sure if anybody's proclaiming Dan Campbell to be an offensive mastermind. But then you got Dan Quinn. You got Sean McDermott, right? You got D'Amico Ryans. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach. But they were the right guys for those particular jobs. And as you know very well, whether they bring in an offensive guy or a defensive guy, a lot of the success will be in who those coaches bring in around them. Dan Quinn brings in Cliff Kingsbury, and you see what happens. Sean McDermott goes out and gets Joe Brady. D'Amico Ryans goes out and gets Bobby Slowick. A lot, Ryan, is going to depend on who is brought in around the eventual head coach the Jaguars hire.
I agree. And even you look at a defensive-minded head coach right now that may end up in Jacksonville, and that's with Robert Saleh. Now you look at his success or lack thereof, right, in New York, and then look back to his days in San Francisco where he was obviously one of the top head coaching candidates even at that time. If he comes into Jacksonville, you'd probably think that his connections with a guy like Michael LaFleur could be possible. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think sometimes, Ryan, that it comes down to not just getting the right guy, but it's okay sometimes when looking at this thing, looking at guys like Ben Johnson or an Aaron Glenn or a Kellen Moore, more so Johnson and Kellen Moore, because coordinators at times, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury right now in this situation, it's sometimes okay to just stay as a coordinator and focus on one side of the ball, because going into taking a head coaching role where now you have your fingerprints on not just one side of the ball where you used to come from, you now have your fingerprints in all three phases of the game, and you're also looked upon to lead every single guy in that locker room. And I'm not saying that Ben Johnson isn't qualified or Kellen Moore isn't qualified or Robert Saleh isn't qualified to talk offense. I'm not saying that. It's just sometimes when you look across the league and everybody gets excited about specifically these young genius offensive minds, specifically on that side of the ball, you've got to get a guy sometimes that can just be that leader, understand to where, look, I understand my duties and what I need to do, but I'm going to get coordinators in the building that I trust in, that I have a relationship in, and I'm just going to let them do their jobs. Because a lot of organizations, Ryan, across football, as you know, the lack of success is because people don't allow the football people to do football jobs.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, people talk about Ben Johnson here in Jacksonville. You're right about that. I think after Ben Johnson, a lot of talk is about Liam Cohen and Joe Brady. And you can kind of say the same thing about those guys, right? They both have certainly some positive traits. But Liam Cohen's only been an offensive coordinator for 2 years in the NFL, one in L.A. with the Rams and the other with Tampa this past season. Joe Brady is, 35 years old? And I'm not saying a 35-year-old can't come in, but everybody's looking for the next Sean McVay, right? Well, that doesn't happen all the time, because that's why there's only one Sean McVay. I think you got to be very, very careful about hiring a young guy like that, assuming the next Sean McVay is coming in the building.
I agree, 1,000%, 1,000%. And that really, for me, Ryan, it goes towards even the Kellen Moore conversation. You know, I know that the Jaguars requested to interview him alongside, Liam Cohen, and he talked about Joe Brady. But for me, with Kellen Moore, there's been so much talk with him over these last few years, as far as he was in Dallas, played in Dallas, he went out to Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. The lack of success for me from this Philadelphia Eagles offense with him running the show with Jalen Hurts has been underwhelming. We'll see how that thing progresses there these next few weeks for them, as far as them reaching their ceiling. But I know he's a popular name as a young mind and wants to spread it out. And you look at what Trevor Lawrence's skill set is with the guys that are there. I know the Jaguars are doing their due diligence, and I agree that 100%. But if there's going to be some trimming of the fat, if you will, moving forward to these next 2 weeks, as far as which guy or guys they really knock their list down to 2 or 3 individuals to get the guy in the building to not just get back to relevancy, because this is a roster fundamentally that belongs to the top of the AFC South, competing with the Houston Texans for the next decade plus, in my opinion.
A couple of more for Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. All right, Brian Thomas Jr. Whoever comes to Jacksonville is going to get one heck of a wide receiver. And Ryan, you and I have talked about him, but he ends with 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns, over 80-plus catches. I mean, you've done this for a while, man. Put into context a rookie year for a wide receiver like we just saw from BTJ.
It's special, It's special. I think that's a blanket statement, from me. But I think when you look at the thing that impressed me most was I wanted to see more from Brian Thomas coming out of LSU, specifically in his release package off the line of scrimmage, because he was a big receiver and a lot of big guys with as far as these high hips. They're unable to change their inability to change direction. And looking at this year, when teams would just line up on the outside and you have some bracket coverage on them, teams are doubling up, and you're still getting fed the football in a situation this year where you had Mac Jones throwing to you in the back end of the year and you're still producing. That's what made Brian Thomas so darn special. Because, look, I know it's not a one-man show in Jacksonville, but what he did as a rookie, and really the entirety of this 2024 class, was outstanding as far as who went on night one. For Brian to come in and be that X, that immediate bright spot for not just the now, but for the future, and not just a slight contributor, but a core contributor, a future potential all-pro in this league. He went out every single week, put on his helmet, no matter what was going on, no matter how many wins or losses the team had, showed up every single week, and damn near put up 100 yards on everybody he faced. And I think that's the most impressive thing for me with Brian, because away from his surroundings, similar to what Malik Danvers did, his former teammate at LSU up in New York, where there wasn't a ton around him, specifically after Lawrence went out. And even when Trevor was in there, it was rough sometimes, as you know, Ryan. He just continually showed up, produced, and really, for lack of a better term, dominated on the outside every single week. I mean, I cannot think of a more impressive rookie receiver, considering what he did in the just absolutely negative situation that it was in Jacksonville, considering their expectations heading in to 2024.
Yeah, and keep in mind, no Trevor Lawrence, but there was also no Gabe Davis, no Evan Ingram, no Christian Kirk towards the end of the year. I mean, it was Brian Thomas pretty much out there by himself, and he was absolutely fantastic. And Ryan, one of the points this week as well, and you can obviously speak to this better than most with the work you've done covering the draft for years. Look, to me, there's NFL good, and there has been Jaguar good, and they're different, right? I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is NFL good. He's one of the best receivers in the league. And we'll sit here and we'll talk about Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby and Tyson Campbell and Anton Harrison and Walker Little and go on down the line about guys that Balky has drafted. And, yeah, they're not terrible players. They're probably Jaguar good. But, Ryan, there's a difference, right, between Jaguar good and NFL good, correct?
Yeah, there absolutely is, and when you even take a look right at this draft class coming up, the Jaguars are obviously going to be in a spot, to add talent. And that's not just on day 1, day 2, or day 3. You can get guys in the building to where you can really flex your scouting muscles, getting guys post-draft to come in and compete. And, there's guys around the industry that will look at this thing and say, this isn't a quote-unquote good draft. Well, for me, if you don't understand how to evaluate talent, you're going to look at it and say, this isn't a great draft. But what separates the best organizations in football is be able to separate a board, find your core contributors, find your depth pieces to come in and start for you, or guys that are going to have to cut their teeth on special teams and be multi-phase type of guys for you. So the Jaguars are going to have a chance to add talent. I like some of the picks that they've made in the last few years. You and I have sat here and talked about a guy like Antonio Hamilton. We've talked about a guy like Jerry Jones, who I thought a good year, let alone the success we saw, of course, from Brian Thomas Jr. in year 1, specifically going for over 100 yards in 3 of his last 4 games with Mac Jones under center. That's pretty darn impressive for anybody in football. I don't care. We're talking about Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, whoever in the NFL. It's a special type of young man out there on the outside, but they got to continue to add talent and, again, work this thing back onto the rails and kind of get their foundation back a little bit. I think when you drafted Trevor Lawrence, you got some other pieces in the building in free agency, you've begun to establish your roots a little bit. But the last few years, the tree is starting to uproot really a little bit. So regather your roots, add some more talent at corner, get some more guys on offense, potentially some more additions along the front 5, figure out what you have at tackle. The running back situation, I want to see a little bit more pop from both those guys in the future, couple more carries for Tank Bigsby. They're going to be in a good spot. I still do trust in Trent as far as making some fresh additions in this draft to get some contributors. But you're right. Getting guys that are NFL-level talents that can contribute not just now for 2025, moving into the future, that's going to be the biggest thing for Jacksonville moving forward.
Ryan, final question. The Jaguars own the 3rd-round pick from Minnesota and the 4th-round pick from Minnesota. So I think they basically have 6 of the top 125 in the draft. And I remember talking to you and a lot of your colleagues around the league to cover the draft last year. And the thought last year was the 2025 draft much deeper than the 2024 draft. You could find, what might have been a third-round pick in 2024 could be like a fifth-round pick in 2025. It is a deeper draft. Is that opinion still valid?
I will say this. The boards across the league, Ryan, are all over the place. You head into a year where you need to know about 350 names usually annually. Now this year, there's a lot of names. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you can find guys anywhere. And I would agree with that statement absolutely, because you look at the running back class, the tight end class, and then the interior and edge class as well on the defensive side of the ball has a chance to be historic, in my opinion. There's talent everywhere. And when you look at these upcoming major pre-draft showcases, the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl, Jaguars are going to be in attendance. Talk to a scout from Jacksonville this morning. Hey, I'm going to be down in Mobile. We're going to have eyes on these corners. We're going to have eyes on these offensive linemen specifically. That's what I was told this morning from a Jacksonville guy. So, they're going to be adding talent. They're going to be adding younger guys, and not just a guy to come in and wear a helmet, Ryan. They're going to be asking guys to come in and make an immediate contribution in all three phases of the game here in 2025 with a new face and a new voice in that locker room.
Ryan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Draft Network, and obviously your life is about to get very, very busy in the coming months.
It is, but it's the best time of year, Ryan, as you know. But yeah, lots of stuff coming out for me at the Draft Network, audio, video, written. I will be down at the Senior Bowl in a couple weeks. Live coverage of that on my Twitter or X, at _Ryan Fowler. I also have my interview series with prospects coming out on my podcast, Commanding the Huddle. That'll have upwards of 80 to 90 interviews with players leading up to April of all types of stuff, breaking news from sources around the league as well, visits, meetings, all type of stuff draft-wise. I'll have that covered on my X and at thedraftnetwork.com.
Ryan Fowler of the Draft Network. Ryan, safe travels to Mobile to the Senior Bowl in a couple of weeks. We'll catch up with you after that, pal. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Follow the JU Dolphins on 1010XL.
JU brings their 4-game win streak to Swisher Gym against Central Arkansas. Dolphins Bears, Saturday at 3 on 1010 AM.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hey gang, Prosser here. If you think you have problems related to the need to sell your home, we have solutions. And by we, I don't mean me. I mean ChadandSandy.com. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com. Call them today at 904-414-6200. Look, the problems could fall into a variety of areas. Maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Maybe you need more space with a growing family. Doesn't matter what the problems are. You go to Chad and Sandy, those problems are fixed. With all the recent talk about interest rates and economic uncertainty, you may be wondering if now is the right time to sell your home. Will you get the price you need? What about repairs or showings? The good news, you don't have to figure it out by yourself. You call my agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. They will deliver. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. The success stories are rolling in from all over town. Find out for yourself. Call Chad and Sandy today. That's Chad, A-N-D, Sandy.com.
Tired of a plain and boring backyard? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop choice to beautify your home. With pavers, stonework, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces, pergolas, and driveways. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Hunters know patience is part of the game.
Just got to keep hunting.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Waltz on the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a walk-in closet that's not only beautiful, but also incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 800-293-3744. Hey, and if you mention Mia or Helmets and Heels, you'll qualify for free base molding. Call today or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Rev up your life with luxury at Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Right now, used car prices are 12% lower than their peak in April of 2022, making this the perfect time to drive home in a dream car. Specializing in luxury used vehicles, offering you elegance at prices that are finally coming back down to earth. See special listings in the newspaper every Saturday or online at VaughnMotorGroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Why is the Dead Sea so named? The answer next.
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The Dead Sea is 9 times saltier than any other sea, which means no living creature can actually live there.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Happy New Year, sports fans. Hicken here, and let's keep the skincare talk going while we ring in the new year. You know it's winter, a little cold outside. That sun is still shining, so let's always be reminded to take care of our skin. Beaches Dermatology now has a new location open in Fernandina. So if you live just a little north of Duval, you can now see the pros at Beaches Dermatology without having to make the drive to Jax. Go online to beachesdermatology.com to book your skincare appointment today. That's beachesdermatology.com.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjax.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Guess what? We love rugs. We'll treat your fine Oriental rugs with tender, loving care they deserve. How about Gerard, the Zero Res rug cleaning manager, one of the few certified master rug cleaners in the state of Florida? If you want your rugs cleaned with tender, loving care, call Zero Res. Right now, have one rug washed, and we'll wash the second rug free. That's right, buy one, the second one on me. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Make a resolution this new year to send all of your friends or family a Kuhn Flowers floral arrangement. RJ Saunders here with 1010XL, and okay, how about sending just one person you love a floral arrangement? Kuhn Flowers can handle it.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
15 minutes before the 9 o'clock hour. We'll take you up all the way till 10 o'clock tonight here on Hacker After Dark. I guess interesting in that I thought this was going to happen over the weekend, but apparently it happened this evening. The Jaguars apparently also not only interviewed Brian Flores today, the Viking defensive coordinator, former Miami Dolphin head coach. They also knocked out their interview with Kellen Moore today within the last half an hour or so, the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles. That is 9 interviews they have done in the last 11 days. They have one more. Joe Brady will be the last of the 10 that was on their list of people they wanted to talk to. Joe Brady is scheduled to interview with the Jaguars tomorrow. Of course, Brady's the OC in the game Sunday night between Baltimore and Buffalo, obviously. So after they interview Joe Brady tomorrow, that's it. All of their interviews will be done, at least the first interviews. And then one would expect you're going to have a cut down, right? Is that cut down to 5? Is that cut down to 4? Is that cut down to 3? We'll see. Those should start up next week. You can actually bring people in for in-person interviews next week. The thing that will complicate that, obviously, is for the people that are playing in the conference championship games. And that was one of the points I brought up earlier. I want to talk about these games in a moment. But of the 4 divisional playoff games this weekend, think about this. All right, tomorrow, 4:30, you got Houston, Kansas City. The Jaguars have interviewed Steve Spagnuolo of the Chiefs. Tomorrow night, Washington and Detroit. The Jaguars have interviewed both Aaron Glenn and obviously Ben Johnson. Sunday at 3 o'clock, Rams-Eagles. The Jaguars have interviewed Kellen Moore. And Sunday, Ravens-Bills. The Jaguars have interviewed both Todd Monken and will interview Joe Brady. So literally in every game of divisional weekend, the Jaguars have talked to at least one coordinator participating in those games. By the way, more Jaguar talk from an analytics point of view, a number crunching decimal point of view when it comes to this Jaguar coaching search. Daniel Griffith's Wildcard Analytics joins me in about 15 or so minutes to give you that aspect, the analytical aspect of this Jaguar head coaching search. To the playoff games this weekend. Let's go in order. Tomorrow, Houston, Kansas City. You know, I thought it was interesting. I saw one of the national websites that basically said everybody that's not a Chiefs fan will be rooting for Houston tomorrow. They obviously did not take a straw poll here in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm not rooting for the Texans. Are you kidding me? I can't imagine many of you are either. Aziz Al-Shire and the crew. I hope Kansas City beats them to death, which I firmly expect that to happen. I think Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, well rested. Now, they have not played in 23 days. They had the bye last week, and remember, a majority of their starters did not play week 18. So it'll be 23 days, roughly, 3 weeks or so, since a majority of those Kansas City starters played significant action. Will they be rusty coming out of the gate tomorrow? That's something to watch. But over a 4-quarter game, I just can't imagine that Houston is going to go into Arrowhead and beat Kansas City. Although I thought Houston played very well last week, no doubt about that, particularly that defense. I would just have to think Kansas City will find a way to get it done at home tomorrow at Arrowhead. Give me the Chiefs over the Texans. Tomorrow night, Washington and Detroit, 2 good stories, man. How can you not be a fan of Detroit? And I know here in Jacksonville, we'll all be watching both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. But how can you almost not be rooting for Detroit after all they've been through, Dan Campbell and everybody there? But Washington's a fun team too. Jaden Daniels has had a great rookie year. Team that wasn't expected to do much finds themselves in the divisional round of the playoffs. This game to me is very similar to Tampa Bay and Detroit a year ago in the playoffs. Very similar circumstances. And if you'll remember, Tampa Bay played Detroit very hard. That was a 4th-quarter game where Detroit had to survive and win it late. I kind of expect the same thing tomorrow night. I think Washington's going to battle, and I think it's going to be a game in the 4th quarter. But I just think Detroit will be too much at home. Give me the Lions to advance and host the NFC Championship game next week. Sunday, Rams at the Eagles. There's a part of me that wants to pick L.A. And the reason I want to pick L.A. is because of what I saw on Monday night. The Rams have kind of flown under the radar all year. Not a lot of people have obviously paid a lot of attention to them, at least in my opinion. But they're not flying under the radar anymore. They beat the crap out of the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night. A 14-win Minnesota Viking team. The Rams beat them up on the line of scrimmage, sacked Sam Darnold 9 times, ran the ball. Puka Nacua was doing his thing. Matt Stafford was doing his thing. Kyron Williams is maybe the most underrated running back in the NFL. There's a lot to like about L.A. If this game was played in LA or if this game was played anywhere in the country where it was 60 degrees or warmer, I would probably take the Rams. But it's going to be nasty in Philadelphia. It's going to be cold, potentially snowing. And when you think about a game like that, and you think about that Eagle running attack with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, and that big physical offensive line that Philadelphia has, same thing on the D-line. I just think it's going to be an ugly, sloppy game due to weather, and because of that, give me Philadelphia. Again, I'm tempted to take LA, and I probably would take LA if the game was played anywhere where it was 60 degrees or warmer. But in a cold, nasty snow game in the city of brotherly love, I'll take Philadelphia. And then finally, that brings me to Sunday night. Probably the most anticipated game of the week. Baltimore and Buffalo. Boy, that is good stuff. Lamar Jackson on one side, Josh Allen on the other. Derrick Henry in that running attack versus James Cook and what the Bills have done. Two opportunistic defenses. Two teams that I think both have a very good chance of beating Kansas City a week from Sunday. Man, I hate picking all four home teams. I hate doing that because that almost never happens. All four home teams in the divisional weekend almost never win. Usually there's the one road team, right? And I've already picked Kansas City at home. I've already picked Detroit at home. And I've already picked Philadelphia at home. But I'm going to take Buffalo, man. I just think this Bills team is on a mission. I don't necessarily know if they're better than Baltimore. But I think something will happen in the fourth quarter. A key penalty, a key turnover, maybe an officiating blunder. I don't know. Something's going to happen to where Buffalo is going to find a way to have more points on the scoreboard at the end of the game. I don't feel as confident about that one as I do some of the other games this weekend. And again, I hate taking all four home teams. But I'm going to do it. Give me the Bills. So my AFC Championship game will be Buffalo at Kansas City. My NFC Championship game will be Philadelphia at Detroit. Denmark, if memory serves, both you and I, going back to the first week of September when we did our NFL picks, and I can't wait to do those after the Super Bowl to see how bad we both were, but if memory serves, I think both you and I had Detroit and Kansas City in the Super Bowl, did we not?
Yes, we did.
Well, we're still alive, man, and we have home field advantage. I can't remember the last time I actually got a Super Bowl prediction right. And somebody's going to have to go into Detroit and beat Detroit, or somebody's going to have to go into Arrowhead and beat Kansas City to make our prediction not come true. Again, give me the four home teams. Give me Kansas City over Houston. Give me Detroit over Washington. Give me Philly over LA. And in a close one, give me Buffalo over Baltimore. Denmark, where are you with these four games?
Yeah, all the home teams. I think three of the games I don't think are going to be – you might have the Rams score late, and that game might get interesting in the fourth quarter, but I think the Eagles handle them unless Jalen Hurts just isn't playing well.
Do you agree if that game was played in a 60-degree, non-snow, rain climate that the Rams might have a decent shot of winning?
Maybe. I think so many of the times where it happens where a team plays well in the wild card round and then we overprice them.
That's fair.
We kind of inflate them, and then they kind of go back to what they have been most of the regular season. I mean, we haven't looked at the Rams as one of the better teams in the NFL all year, and then they played well once.
Saquon Barkley tore them apart in the regular season.
Yeah, he ran for 250.
Yeah.
When they played. But I think the Eagles are going to roll. I think the Eagles win by 7. Rams might score late and make it interesting, but I like, 2 blowouts and then a great Ravens-Bills game.
It's going to be fun. And by the way, just to get on my soapbox for 1 minute here, the college football national championship game should have been played tonight. Think about the coverage it would get tonight. On Monday, when the game is played between Notre Dame and Ohio State, people are going to be decompressing from divisional weekend. And then, bam, Monday night, you got the national championship game in college. I think they should have gone ahead of divisional weekend and had it tonight as opposed to Monday. But with the fact that it is on Monday, you got 2 divisional games tomorrow, 2 divisional games on Sunday, and then, of course, the college football title game on Monday. It should be a nice 3-day weekend. Of course, it is a 3-day weekend for a lot of people, right, with Martin Luther King Day on Monday. Of course, we'll be here on Hacker After Dark breaking it down like nobody's business Monday night. Non-football related, quickly, an important game for Gator basketball tomorrow. After that loss to Missouri, another home game against Texas, a good Texas team, but not a great Texas team. Florida needs to win tomorrow. I'll be very interested to see how they respond to adversity. I don't think there was adversity when they lost to Kentucky. I mean, they scored 100 points at Rupp Arena. That's not anything to sneeze about, right? I don't think you had a lot of adversity in that loss, but you got adversity now. Losing to an unranked Missouri team, how do they respond tomorrow against another unranked team in Texas? Of course, you'll hear that game on 1010XL with tip-off at 4 o'clock. So there's a lot to get into. We're with you for another hour, and we're glad you're with us. Let's crunch the numbers. Let's talk decimal points. Let's talk stats. Let's talk analytics. When it comes to this Jaguar coaching search, my buddy Daniel Griffiths, wildcardanalytics.com. We'll do a little number crunching next on a Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Oh, good morning.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Meow.
Doing their best to make every morning good. Or at least a little better.
Oh, now I see what you're saying.
Mornings on 1010XL.
That's good. That's good fun.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
When you head out for a night with friends or going to the big game, don't forget the best game plan to win the night is to designate a driver and guarantee a safe ride home. Hydrating between buds is the best play you can make. Bud Light, reminding all to drink wiser.
Matt A's here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
You can attend the Police Athletic League's 2-day boxing tournament at Julian Jackson Center, January 18th and 19th. Learn more at jaxpal.org.
The Wounded Warrior Project provides what medicine and technology can't: community, counseling, and a second chance. Find ways to help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Your high school girls can join the Duval Tides girls rugby team. No tryouts and no experience necessary. Learn everything you need to know at Jax HS Girls Rugby on Facebook and Instagram.
The Creeks Athletic Association in St. Johns County offers a variety of sports for children 5 to 18. Learn how to get your child involved at caale.org.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,600 per ounce. Pay bills. Buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Your home is your sanctuary where memories are made. Jack's homeowners trust Superior Fence and Rail to make their home feel safe, secure, and complete. Imagine a classic wood fence for privacy, sturdy aluminum to protect your pets, or a modern vinyl design that boosts curb appeal. Every fence is built with precision and pride, standing strong in every season.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Hi, Jags fans. Walker Little here for my friends at Kingfish Pest Control. Playing offensive line in the NFL, I must block and protect on every down. When it comes to keeping my home pest-free, I expect that same level of protection. So I contacted Kingfish after seeing thousands of positive online customer reviews about their service. I can confirm from personal experience, bugs don't stand a chance getting past Kingfish Pest Control. Do what I did. Reach out to Kingfish Pest Control to protect your home, a proud partner of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Picking here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are over a week into the Jaguar head coaching search. Obviously, Doug Peterson was relieved of his duties early last week. Trent Baalke remains the Jacksonville Jaguar general manager. What do we make of everything as head coaching interviews have begun? The Jaguars have already talked to about 4 or 5 guys with other interviews scheduled. And how long potentially could this process last before the Jaguars name their new head coach? Daniel Griffith is all about the number crunching. Wildcard Analytics is where you find his terrific work. And Daniel's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Daniel, how you doing?
Oh, very well. I'm excited to see what's going to transpire here in the next couple months regarding the Jaguars head coaching search. Maybe it ends up including more, but I'm equally excited for the assistants, whoever the Jaguars hire a head coach who comes along with them.
Yeah, that'll be the interesting part. Once you get the head coach, the staff's got to be built in around them, and we'll get there. But Daniel, obviously I haven't talked to you since last week and what transpired. Your reaction when you found out Doug Peterson out, but Trent Baalke remains with the Jaguars?
Yeah, there's something to be said for coming in with a cohesive vision. Usually, it's most ideal to hire a GM and head coach together, and that way they can create a vision in unison, to where they have the same idea and the same approach to the process regarding roster building and how the coach wants to approach the season offensively and defensively, and making sure that your GM and head coach are a good fit. That kind of gets messed up there a little bit when you fire one and don't fire the other. especially now that Trent Baalke is going to be on his third Jaguars head coach. And the team has just 2 winning seasons. And last year was a disappointing winning season. They had high hopes and ultimately was a disappointment. And this season even more so. So I'm shocked that he stuck around. Simply, it doesn't even matter how proficient he is if he hinders you from hiring the right head coach. He could be the best GM in the world, but if he's a hindrance to hiring a head coach and to being successful outside of what he does as in scouting and free agency, then that's a bigger issue even than just not being good at your job, is hindering the team in other ways.
Daniel, you're very active on social media. You've written for Jaguar fan websites in the past. You got a pretty good pulse of the Jaguar fan base, and certainly the reaction on social media last week was unbelievably negative when the Baalke news came out. Are you surprised Jaguar fans were as mad about that as it appears?
Well, you kind of go back to the clown fiasco a few years ago. I do worry about apathy. I'm happy that Jaguar fans were as passionate as they are. Towards the end of the season, there started to get pretty quiet regarding Jaguars fans. So I'm happy that the fans are still passionate. The Jaguars have had the opportunity to do something really cool and bring in a new regime. That's not quite going to be the case. Jaguars have seen a lot of people stick around for probably too long, whether it's Dave Caldwell, Gus Bradley, and now you've got Trent Baalke as well, who's stuck around, probably longer than he should have.
Daniel Griffith, Wildcard Analytics, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Look, Baalke's not without positives, right? I mean, there's some guys that he's drafted. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr., that was a grand slam. You can point to other guys like Trayvon Walker, Anton Harrison, Cam Little in round 6. I mean, it's not all been doom and gloom, but my point all last week, Daniel, was for every positive you listed Baalke's done, you can probably offset it with a negative or 2, which to me, if that's the case, then I have no idea why he's still here as the general manager.
Yeah, you mentioned Trayvon Walker, and I love Trayvon. I initially was very critical of the pick, and, I was concerned he didn't rush the passer a whole lot at Georgia. He was going to be a project player, and I'm very happy with how he's progressed in his young career in Jacksonville. But at the same time, Trayvon Walker could almost be the second best defensive player in the NFL and still be the wrong selection. Aiden Hutchinson is fantastic, and kudos to Trent Baalke and Trayvon Walker's development, but also Aiden Hutchinson was sitting there on the board. You had the first overall pick. You could have picked really a game changer and one of the best defenders in the league. But yeah, I think he's done better in the draft and free agency. But this past free agency was tough outside of Mitch Morse. We don't really know what's going to happen with Eric Armstead if he moves to defensive tackle next year. Maybe he's really successful, and I'd love to see that, both for him and obviously the Jaguars. Maybe the Jaguars look for some interior help to either replace Mitch Morse or Brandon Scherf this offseason. You look at a guy like Jarian Jones, BTJ. Mason Smith really started to come along there towards the end of the season. And then you go back to years past, Brenton Strange and Parker Washington. I still don't love the Brenton Strange pick, but he's looking really solid, as well as Parker Washington, and Anton Harrison is your right tackle for the future as well.
All right, Daniel, let's get into the coaching search. I think if you take a poll from Jaguar fans, obviously Ben Johnson appears to be their number one. Will he take the job because of Trent Baalke? That's certainly a conversation. Do the Jaguars want to wait as long as it appears they'll have to hear a decision from Ben Johnson? There's a lot of different factors at play there, but overwhelmingly, that appears to be the direction the fans want. Is that your opinion when you crunch the numbers? Are you a Ben Johnson guy?
He's really doing a lot of things that are super unique for the NFL, and I think he's playing to Jared Goff's strengths so well. I can list some numbers here, but I want people to realize that these numbers are the numbers because Jared Goff is his quarterback. I don't want people to think that he's going to come to Jacksonville and turn Trevor Lawrence into a short passer. I don't think that that's going to happen. But what Jared Goff does really well, he's super accurate. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. The Lions are first in targeting the middle of the field. Jaguars are 25th. They love digs and ends. They're first in play action percentage. Jaguars are 21st. They're 31st in deep throwing. Jaguars were 5th. So those are just a few things. They led the NFL in yards and touchdowns off of motion. The Jaguars were 26th and 31st. And they were also second in runs outside the tackles. Jaguars were 26th. So a lot of what he's doing is very, very unique in order to help out that offense and Jared Goff. And both of them in unison are doing a fantastic job. Ben Johnson is creating a system for Jared Goff, and Jared Goff couldn't be performing it any better.
Couple more for Daniel Griffiths of Wildcard Analytics. I love the numbers you threw out there in regards to Ben Johnson. Again, that appears to be most Jaguar fans' hope. I think some people are coming to reality that if that doesn't happen, and I get the sense maybe Liam Cohen and then Joe Brady are the next two on the list. Liam Cohen's now obviously available. Tampa Bay season's over. Joe Brady's still with Buffalo, getting ready for a divisional matchup this weekend. Daniel, what's your opinion on Cohen and Brady as we look at the head coaching candidates?
Yeah, I think Cohen's done a really good job. Like, Baker Mayfield's played stupendous this season. I've been very happy to see his resurgence. Similar to the Lions, they don't throw a lot of deep balls. They were 28th in deep throw percentage. They were third in screens, and they were first in yards and touchdowns off screens. So that's something that Tampa, Liam Cohen loves to do. The Jaguars were 17th for reference. And they have a man gap heavy run scheme, similar to the Jaguars, but differently from the Jaguars. They led the NFL in yards per carry with that scheme. They have a pretty balanced rush attack inside and outside. So there's not too many numbers that are that standoutish, unlike Ben Johnson, who's doing a lot of very unique things. But what Liam Cohen is doing is very, very successful, especially the use of screens. The NFL is trending more towards short passing game. And I think that Ben Johnson and Liam Cohen are kind of at the forefront of that right now.
You know, you look at Johnson, Cohen, Brady, those appear to be the three. Defensively, I think if people want a defensive guy, they're looking at Aaron Glenn. We know Brian Flores, Steve Spagnuolo are in the mix. They've also interviewed Patrick Graham, Robert Saleh as well. Interesting that of the 10 known candidates that they've interviewed or one interview, half of them, 5 of the 10, are on the defensive side of the ball. What would your thought be if they ultimately go with a defensive guy?
I'm looking at Aaron Glenn. He had some really interesting things that I was looking at. They blitzed the second most of any team. And they faced some major injuries on defense as well, whether it's Aiden Hutchinson or Alex Anzalone. They ran the most base defense of any team. They had a heavy box. They were 4th in 8 rushers or more. So 8 in the box or more. So that was something that I noticed. They were the number 1 red zone defense in EPA per play. They're a man-heavy scheme similar to Jacksonville this past year, but it's the front 7 that's completely different for them. They were the number 1 team against play action. They were 2nd in stunt percentage, 2nd in blitz. The Jaguars were 30th and 32nd, respectively. They were attacked deep more than any other team in the NFL, but they were solid in defending that. And I think that's also something to look at. Teams took a lot of shots at them, and they did pretty well. They were number 1 in the NFL at preventing separation, according to NFL Next Gen Stats.
You know, and as we begin to wrap up, again, Daniel Griffiths of Wildcard Analytics, it sounds like you're on the same page I am. This is what I said last week. Look, you give me one of 6 guys, all right? Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and then I also lumped in there Robert Saleh or Brian Flores. I would be either very happy or satisfied with any of those 6. The other guys, Kellen Moore, Patrick Graham, Steve Spagnuolo, Todd Monken, I would have some questions, maybe some reservations. But I think of the 6 guys that I said, I would be very surprised if one of those 6 were not the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, and I looking at the numbers and also, you know, what I think the Jaguars probably would like. You know, you'd obviously love to get to have Trevor Lawrence progress, and I think that an offensive coach would do wonders for that. At the same time, the Jaguars' defense was by far the worst in the NFL this season, and it's not like they played great offenses either. I would try very hard to get Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, or Aaron Glenn. I think that those 3 would probably be my top 3. After that, maybe Joe Brady. You know, he's also someone that uses motion a lot, and they were first in EPA per play in motion. The Jaguars were bottom 5 in motion percentage, unsurprisingly. So, you know, it's a very innovative league, and Joe Brady, Liam Cohen, and Ben Johnson are really at the forefront of that, leading a charge using heavy motion percentages.
Daniel, you crunched the numbers very well. Wildcard Analytics, tell the good folks in Jacksonville about the website and what they can expect when they head on over there.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be posting here pretty shortly. I'm going to be posting route percentages for the Jaguars as a whole compared to the NFL average, as well as all of the Jaguars' individual receivers and their separation percentage on each route to give fans an idea of you know, what players' strengths are at the receiver position. You know, BTJ is really, really good at running slants and goes. He was top 5 in both this year. So that's something that I'm excited to put out, as well as today I posted that the Jaguars are the only team to have 2 top 15 pass rushers in pressures, according to NFL Next Gen stats. And the offense, the pass rush was still 30th in the NFL. So they struggle mightily, and I think that a coach could do wonders for that. You know, you look at their 32nd blitz percentage, and they're 30th in stunts. So you're basically just sending Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker as a duo to rush the passer against a 5-man front. And Trayvon Walker is one of the most chipped players in the NFL.
Daniel Griffiths, Wildcard Analytics. Daniel, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time, as always. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you very much.
Find Florida Gators basketball on 1010XL.
5th-ranked Florida takes on Texas at the O'Connell Center Saturday at 4 on 92.5 FM.
Hacker here with a question. Was your goal to lose weight this year? If so, are you already down 31 pounds? Now, that's a serious question because I dropped 31 pounds my first 3 weeks alone with Awaken 180 weight loss. Now, I had more to lose than most, but Dempsey, Matt Hayes both dropped 18 in their first 3 weeks. That's how fast the weight can fall off when you choose the solution for weight loss. Where am I now? I'm down over 115 pounds. My goal was to lose 100, but my new goal is to be under 200 pounds for the first time since I was in college. The results are real, and the results are fast with Awaken 180. Whether you're not seeing these types of results with your new weight loss program, or if you've already given up, don't. Do what we all did and make the call to Awaken 180. 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800, or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Mueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait.
but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners, so you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Ready, aim, inspire. At the 7th Annual Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation Clay Shoot, Thursday, February 20th at Jack's Clay Target Sports. Hi, I'm Paul Martinez, president of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida. We've got you covered. Ammo, carts, clays, delicious food, and amazing prizes. Whether you're a sharpshooter or just in it for fun, this event is for you. Support the important work of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida and Mackenzie's Camp Deep Pond. Sign up at bgcnf.org/events.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org.
I'm Hacker, and I'll get you more Gator Chomps during the Gator Bites podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. New episodes drop every Friday. Get Gator Bites where you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com.
Hey, it's Angela and Brian Wall. How many companies do you know in this day and age that actually want their potential customers to call their competition and get quotes from them?
That's what WonderWorld wants you to do. WonderWorld knows there are other window companies out there, but we also know those other guys. When compared to WonderWorld, they can't offer you the quality at the price that WonderWorld can.
And with WonderWorld, you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement business.
If anything goes wrong with your new WonderWorld windows, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 50, WonderWorld and I will be there to fix it for you. You get peace of mind with WonderWorld, and to top it off, WonderWorld windows increase the value of your home. So look what you get with WonderWorld. Quality windows, low price, the best guarantee in the business, energy savings, and an increase in the value of your home. A win-win for you.
Call WonderWorld today and get your free in-home estimate, or see them online at windowworldneflorida.com.
WonderWorld, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Yup, E.T. here. And are you a golfer or a runner? Well, Clay County has you covered. The Hellcat 5K and 10K on Saturday, January 18th is at the historic Lee Field in Green Cove Springs, winding through a historic World War II naval base. Then, February 5th through the 7th, watch the top talent compete in the 2025 Clay County Open at Eagle Harbor Golf and Country Club. This pro tournament boasts golfers chasing the PGA Tour dream. For info on both events, visit the event calendar on explorerclay.com.
New year, new boat. The Jacksonville Boat Show is January 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Prime Osborne Convention Center. Make your boating dream a reality this year. Deals on boats and accessories, fishing seminars, kids events, and more. The Jacksonville Boat Show, presented by ViStar Credit Union. Tickets at boatjacks.com. That's boatjacks.com. Come buy a boat.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes talking a little NBA. You realize we're halfway home in the NBA regular season. Most teams, some teams are over halfway, as a matter of fact. Most teams are in between games, say 40, 41, 42. Obviously, we have an 82-game NBA regular season, so we are at the halfway point. The trade deadline is approaching. The All-Star break isn't that far down the road for the Orlando Magic, who are taking it on the chops again tonight in Boston. Help is on the way, though. I mean, they have, again, I've followed sports my entire life passionately, obviously. I have never supported a team in any sport in any given season that has dealt with more nonsense when it comes to injuries than the Magic. It has been asinine how many injuries they've had. Absolutely ludicrous. Having said that, Banchero's finally back. Franz Wagner reportedly is going to come back in the next 7 to 14 days. Jalen Suggs appears he's going to be coming back soon. So we're finally going to get some resemblance of what this team should have looked like the entire year. And we'll see if they can gel together to get ready in time for the postseason. But we'll talk about the Magic and the rest of the NBA with Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes. That comes up in less than 10 minutes. It is a Friday evening here on Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us to close out the week right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Painting the town teal and black. The Bold City's radio home of the Jaguars. 1010XL.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
New Year's resolutions. But let's be honest, by February, that gym membership is just a $50 a month guilt trip.
So why not take that cash and finally fix your leaky faucet, unclog that drain, or tune up your AC?
Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning has your back. Start the year fresh. No leaks, no clogs, no excuses.
It's a resolution you'll actually keep.
Call Duck Rooter at 904-862-6769 today. Because when you're stuck, call the Duck. Right now, get $50 off any service of $150 or more.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys locksmith service.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser share the huddle with Freddie T. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
Fred Taylor, he's a candidate to go the distance.
On 1010XL.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast. And if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound and Security has a huge prize sweepstakes now through the big game. I'm talking a 75-inch loaded Samsung TV with 3D surround sound, a sound bar with wireless subwoofer, and installation is included. Stop by the new showroom, check out the setup, and drop your name in the box for your chance to win the $2,500 prize now through February 9th. Tyson Sound and Security now at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
How many schools are there in the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the Pac-12?
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
There are 16 teams in the Big 12, 18 in the Big 10, 16 in the SEC, but only 2 teams remain in the Pac-12.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. You know, we've been so caught up in the NFL playoffs and obviously the Jaguar head coaching search that you look around at some other sports, particularly that of the NBA, and we're basically at the halfway point of the NBA regular season. Most teams are approaching game 40 or 41, and of course it is an 82-game NBA regular season. Let's talk the association. Let's talk the Orlando Magic and more with Brian Toporek. Bleacher Report and Forbes is where you find his work, and Brian is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Brian, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Same to you, pal. It's been a long time since we talked, and the last time you and I talked, we were trying to figure out how Orlando was going to survive Paolo Banchero's injury, and then they had to figure out how to survive Franz Wagner's injury, and now they've had to figure out how to survive Mo Wagner, Jalen Suggs, KCP has missed time, Anthony Black has missed time, and yet despite all that, Brian, here Orlando sits 4th in the East, 5 games over 500. What a job they've done amidst all these ridiculous injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland is probably going to win NBA Coach of the Year, but I think Jamal Mosley has a real case for it, having the Magic still stay afloat throughout. I mean, you're missing arguably your top 3 players, and you're still posting a winning record. Look at what's happening to the Pelicans this year or the Sixers this year, who have also been ravaged by injuries, and where they are in the standings. So phenomenal job by, Mosley to get the guys who he still has available ready. Great job by the front office being able to assemble a roster that can stay competitive despite these injuries. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see once they get back and get healthy, how high they can rise.
Banchero is back, and are you surprised, Brian? He missed over 10 weeks, and he's come back, and he's looked awesome in the couple of games. Normally, it takes a couple of weeks, I would think, after you miss that amount of time, and we're talking 2.5 months. Boy, it doesn't look like Paolo has missed a beat.
Yeah, I believe his first game back was against the Bucks, and he had like 30-plus points against Giannis. Like, what a tough way to come back after a layoff like that. And as you said, I mean, he's hit the ground running, which, in part is out of necessity. I would imagine if they were healthier, they would have probably done a more gradual ramp up. But I'm sure Paolo knows that, with Franz still out and with the other injuries that they're dealing with, that they need him to step up and, play close to a normal amount of minutes and really take on that scoring load so he could provide some relief for the other guys. So impressive to have him ready for it right off the bat.
Brian Teporg, Bleacher Report, and Forbes talking NBA with us here on 1010XL. The one silver lining, I guess, Brian, amidst all the Magic injuries is outside of Mo Wagner, which that was obviously a huge loss with a torn ACL. Outside of that one, everybody else is going to come back. Paolo was the first to come back. I would think we're probably a week and a half, 2 weeks away from Suggs coming back. Gary Harris probably as well. You're probably looking, I would guess, maybe early February for Franz. When the Magic have a full arsenal and all these guys do come back, what's your thought on them coming into the postseason?
I mean, I think Cleveland and Boston have established themselves as the top two teams in the East. And then I think really there's another gap between like Knicks, Magic, Bucks, Pacers. I would put Knicks and Magic probably in a tier slightly higher than the Bucks and the Pacers. But I think those six are very, very clearly the top six teams in the East. Pistons have done well, shockingly well, especially despite Jaden Ivey's injury. But they're eighth right now. Miami with the Jimmy Butler stuff going on. I don't think anyone's going to call them a real contender this year. Sixers, if they ever get healthy, maybe, but I'm not holding my breath there. So, I think they're going to be very competitive. I think they have a real shot to win a first-round series. After that, they're probably facing one of Cleveland or Boston in the second round, and that's going to be an uphill battle for them. But they battled Cleveland pretty well last year in the first round of the playoffs. So Cleveland is much better this year, obviously. But, Boston is showing some signs of slight regression, and you don't know whether that's just them being bored with the regular season and just, they can ramp it up in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting if Orlando does get healthy, and we'll see what they do, if anything. The trade deadline's a couple weeks away. I wouldn't imagine they're going to make a huge splash by any means, but if they get some sort of upgrade there, I think they'll be very live to at least make it to the second round. And then after that, I wouldn't rule out anything beyond that, but I think they'll have an uphill battle to make it to the conference finals.
Brian, you mentioned Jimmy Butler. How do you think that's going to play itself out in Miami?
I don't think he's going to get traded. I could be wrong, but it just seems like there aren't a ton of teams lining up for him. I mean, it seems based on the reporting, he wants to go to Phoenix. The Heat have no interest in Bradley Beal, who would be the obvious candidate you send out in that trade. So they might have to find a third team willing to take on Beal, but it's hard to, you look around the league, it's like who would want him on that massive contract given his age, his injury history, his no trade clause, which, he can scuttle any deal, and he says he's not even going to waive it. So I think Phoenix is not nearly as realistic as they've been made out to be. Beyond that, we're hearing reports that, he's telling Memphis, don't trade for me because I don't want to go there. Telling Milwaukee, don't trade for me because I don't want to go here. I think it's interesting because he's acting like he has a lot of leverage here, and he really doesn't. If his whole idea dating back to the offseason was, I'm going to decline my player option, become a free agent in 2025. we'll see how the next couple weeks unfold. But as of now, the Brooklyn Nets are the only team projected to have anywhere near enough cap space to sign him to a max contract this offseason, which is, the root of this whole dissension with Miami is that he just wanted a 2-year max extension and they wouldn't give it to him. And the Nets have already kind of back-channeled, but they're not interested in Jimmy Butler. So Miami has a lot of power here in that, I would say it's overwhelmingly likely that Jimmy Butler will need their help to get to a new team, whether it's at the trade deadline or in the offseason via sign and trade. I just wrote something today at Forbes about, I don't think a sign and trade really makes sense for either him or the Heat, because that's going to also whittle down some of his possible options, including Phoenix. So if I had to guess today on January 15th, I'm guessing he doesn't get traded by the deadline. He picks up his player option and they move him this offseason.
Couple of more for Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Brian, you alluded to Cleveland earlier. I mean, they're like 34-5 at the time you and I are talking. They're basically 30 games over 500. I mean, how did this happen? From firing their coach last year, getting embarrassed by the Knicks in the Eastern semis, to clearly being, at least win-loss-wise, the best team in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coach obviously was a huge help because he had experience with both Jared Allen and Karis LeVert in Brooklyn. I think the uncertainty surrounding Donovan Mitchell that was hanging over them all of last season, will he sign the extension? Will they have to trade him this past offseason? He signs the extension. He's committed to Cleveland. Like, they don't have that distraction hanging over them. And they know we're locked in with this young core of Allen, Mobley, Garland, Donovan Mitchell. They're intentionally paring back Mitchell's usage this season and his minutes this season to keep him fresher for the playoffs, making them more unpredictable. And the other big factor is Evan Mobley has taken a huge leap. I mean, this was the potential that he showed early in his career. And then year 2 didn't quite take the leap that a lot of fans were hoping for. Now we're seeing like this dude could be one of the best young big men in the game, one of the most versatile young big men in the game. So, I think things have just fallen into place well for Cleveland, and they have nothing, to distract. They don't have a Jimmy Butler situation where someone's like vying for money or, has one foot out the door. Like, they're all in on this team. And I think we're seeing that reflected in their play this season.
Everyone's going to pick either Cleveland or Boston to come out of the East. We alluded to that earlier. If there were to be a fly in the ointment, I think you listed all the teams: Indiana, Orlando, Milwaukee, even like Atlanta and Detroit, I think are better than people think. The Knicks might be not as good as people thought coming in. But outside of Boston and Cleveland, who would be the biggest issue for them to come out of the East?
I mean, Milwaukee, we saw got hot in the, in-season tournament, or the NBA Cup, sorry. So you never want to rule out a team with Giannis, although they've just been so inconsistent this season that I would have trouble backing them. I think, honestly, Milwaukee would be the wild card depending on what they do at the trade deadline. Like, if they are willing to move on from Chris Middleton and maybe they just say, Jimmy Butler, we don't care that you don't want to come here. We'll trade for you anyway, and we'll cross that bridge in the offseason. That could suddenly swing some fortunes. The Knicks, as you alluded to, I think, offensively have been phenomenal. Defensively, not so much. Getting Mitchell Robinson back at some point, if he does come back and he stays healthy, I think could make a big difference for them. Or if they're able to flip Mitchell Robinson at the trade deadline for someone who can back up Karl Anthony Towns and give them more defense at the 5, that could make them an interesting wild card here. But honestly, I mean, it does feel pretty top heavy in that, like, Cleveland and Boston have very much cemented themselves as the 2 favorites, to the point that I would be somewhat surprised if one of those 2 didn't come out of the East, barring, major injuries in the playoffs.
Final moments with Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes. Brian, quickly, let's head out west. It's Oklahoma City that appears to be the best. They're not even fully healthy. They're going to get Chet Holmgren back sooner rather than later. Are they the team to beat right now? I know Denver's looked pretty good as of late as well.
Yeah, I think the Thunder are very, very clearly the team to beat in the West. I mean, it's honestly terrifying that they've done this without Chet Holmgren, who is probably their second best player when healthy. They are just so deep. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, very well might win MVP. It's probably down to him or Jokic this year. Jalen Williams is an all-star caliber player. It's just amazing. They go 10, 11 deep in an era where, no team has this kind of depth. And they have, the world's supply of draft picks. So, they're another team that I don't know if they're going to make a big move by the trade deadline. I know they've been linked to Cam Johnson of the Nets, but who knows if they're actually going to make a splash. They have the flexibility to do so. So what's scary, whether it's at the trade deadline or this offseason, is that the Thunder, their trajectory is only pointing further up. They should not be able to be this good and have the cash that they do in terms of assets, but they're almost too big to fail at this point.
Brian, we got 2 minutes. Final thought. You mentioned the trade deadline's coming up in a couple of weeks. Is Zach LaVine, Nick Vucevic? We'll see what Chicago does. There's talk about De'Aaron Fox out in Sacramento. You mentioned Cam Johnson. How active do you think it'll be, and what are one or two big names that you would almost expect to be moved?
Yeah, I mean, based on kind of the reporting around the deadline, it sounds like it actually might not be super active in terms of big names being moved. Like Brandon Ingram would be the obvious one in New Orleans because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. The Timberwolves with Julius Randle, maybe they look to move him. But I think teams kind of realize that they have leverage over players right now. Like New Orleans with Ingram, again, the Nets are the only team with cap space to sign a guy to a max contract this offseason. So if the Pelicans are worried that the Nets would sign Ingram, maybe they try to move him now. But otherwise, they probably look at him and say, look, man, either you take our deal and we're not going to give you the max this summer, or we're going to get something for you in a sign and trade anyway. So we're not under pressure to move you immediately. I think it's going to be more like what we saw already with, the Nets selling off Dennis Schroeder and Dorian Finney-Smith. Those types of moves are what propelled the Dallas Mavericks, or what helped propel them to the finals last year. They got PJ Washington, they got Daniel Gafford. So it might not be the most exciting deadline in terms of I don't think Butler gets moved. I don't think De'Aaron Fox gets moved. The Bulls, who knows? But their inaction tends to be their modus operandi at this time of year. So, it wouldn't shock me if Zach LaVine stays put. So I think it's more these role player / starter, but number 4, number 5 option on offense, that more complementary guys. But look, teams need that. That's you need stars, but you also need these role players to fill in the gaps. So I think casual fans might not find it to be the most exciting trade deadline, but it wouldn't shock me if we still get a needle moving trade or two.
We're basically halfway home in the NBA regular season. Trade deadline is approaching. All-Star weekend is also approaching. Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes talking NBA. Brian, appreciate the time. Thank you as always, man. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good. Anytime.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
And thank you to Brian Toporek of Bleacher Report and Forbes for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark to talk a little National Basketball Association. Hard to believe we are basically at the halfway point, right, of the NBA regular season. In fact, a handful of teams are literally at the halfway point. 41 games down, 41 games to go. The NBA trade deadline only a couple of weeks away. We got certainly other things going on as well. You look at Orlando, right? That's a prime example. All the injuries the Magic have had, and yet they've still kept their head above water, above 500. Paolo Banchero is back for the Magic. It won't be long, it appears, until Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner are back. Keep in mind, Orlando's big three, they've only played 5 games together this year, and they haven't played on the court at the same time since October the 30th. And yet, despite that, Orlando entered tonight 4 games above 500. It'll be very interesting to see what actually transpires when those guys are healthy. But again, basically the halfway point of the NBA season. And we thank Brian Toporek for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. We spent some time on that, but certainly it was a majority of Jaguar coaching search and the NFL divisional playoffs. I mean, look, the divisional round should be fantastic. It begins tomorrow at 4:30 with Houston at Kansas City. Then tomorrow night, Washington and Detroit. You go into Sunday, the Rams at the Eagles. Then finally, the one everybody's looking forward to, the Ravens at the Bills. Give me Kansas City and Detroit tomorrow. That was my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year, so I like both the Chiefs and the Lions tomorrow. On Sunday, boy, I'm tempted to take the Rams. I am tempted to take the Rams, but it's not going to be good weather in Philadelphia, and because of that, give me the Philadelphia Eagles, and I will also take the Buffalo Bills. I know I'm going chalk. Give me all 4 home teams to win and advance to the conference championship games. Also on the Jags coaching search front, keep in mind, of the 8 divisional game or the 4 divisional games this weekend, every one of them has somebody the Jaguars have talked to for their head coaching opening. I mean, think about that. Steve Spagnuolo of Kansas City in the early game tomorrow. Obviously, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, the late game tomorrow. On Sunday, you got Kellen Moore of the Philadelphia Eagles in the early game. And then you got both Joe Brady and Todd Monken in the late game. So every divisional game, Saturday, Sunday, will have at least one coordinator that the Jaguars have talked to for their head coaching opening. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Friday evening and a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Brian Toporek, Bleacher Report, and Forbes talking NBA.